Dear ladies and gentlemen, good evening. So actually, it is my great honor to be here to just share some arguments or just some academic perspectives about one specific topic, which I just have spent a few years to make observations just upon the topic, which about Hallyu, in Cantonese is Hallyu. That means the cultural influence of the Korean pop culture just upon the whole Asia and just continuing widespread to the all over the world in recent years. So that is a very important issue where we just try to deal with the studies about Korean history and the influence of contemporary Korean pop culture. So I just try my best to just make it just finish within 20 minutes. I've well prepared two detailed materials since it was actually closely related to my lecture in the university. So thank you. So today's sharing just will be divided into 5 parts. First of all, we will have a very brief introduction. That is about the definition of Hallyu, that is the Korean wave. And also, I would just, as a historian, I would just like to share some academic perspectives about the brief historical development and the characteristics of so-called Hallyu. And also, influence and reflection on Hallyu. Although Korean K-pop culture just widespread and attract attention and also very popular within Asia. However, especially in recent few years, it just raised up the hostility just rising from China and as well as Japan. So if you just try to pay attention to some new rising Japanese commerce, which titles is so-called Hallyu, that is which just in focus of about the Japanese hostility or even jealousy to the rise of and popularity of the K-pop culture. So that is a very important and serious question, just reflects the tense, especially in the historical background, just collaborated with the rise back of the K-pop culture in East Asia. So finally, I will just try to share some concluding notes, just say foreseeing about the future of the Hallyu. And so first of all, an introduction. So for the specific word Hallyu, we will just well explain that in English meaning as Korean wave. That is, if in Hangul, the writing form is just pronouncing as Hallyu. So it refers to the phenomenon of the Korean popular culture which just came into work in East Asia and Southeast Asia and mainland China. Originally, it just since 1990s. However, in recent 10 years, it just widespread to Central Asia as well as West Asia, and also in North and also Latin America. That means all over the world. It contributed to the so-called triumph of the Korean culture, and also came together with a well-establishment of the so-called contemporary Korean identity. So for many contemporary Koreans, they just strongly realize that they can just part of the achievement of the K-pop culture and just try to not only earn money, but also just try to attract the global interest on Korean studies, especially in cultural and historical aspects. So the term was first coined by the Beijing journalists in the late 1990s. When the CCTV just finally decided to broadcast a very famous Korean drama, which titled is All About the Love, which just first broadcasted in 1990s. And so it just successfully attracted the attention of the Chinese audience to the K-drama at that time and just kicked off the first stage of the so-called Hallyu in mainland China. And so Hallyu is a very popular among phenomenon and cultural products, which among young people who just handle with Korean music, that means K-pop, drama, as well as movies, fashion, food, beauty, and also in China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Southeast Asian countries, etc. So this cultural phenomenon has been closely connected with multi-layered transnational movement of people, and also just came together with the capital flow. That means it just collaborated with the economic development, especially when we just try to pay attention to the industrialized experience in the East Asia. So that is a very clear graph to show that the increasing attention of Hallyu in recent years. So although we witnessed that there is a sudden drop, just a slightly drop about the foundation of the number of the Hallyu fan clubs. However, the total number of the so-called Hallyu fans, that means the fandom, actually just increasing. And so until the past year, actually we witnessed Hallyu just contributed is a very important cultural phenomenon, which just combined with money, economic successful experience, as well as some important popular cultural performance, which originated in Korea. About the historical background, and we just trace back to the historical background about the rise of Hallyu. Maybe it should be just divided into two important factors. For the internal aspects, we witnessed the rise of a modernized and industrialized Korea, which we just witnessed the economic miracle which just founded in Korea since 1970s, and just after some important and very brilliant president, for example, President Kim Dae-jung, just successfully inaugurated a so-called cultural policy. And he just well inspired by the experience of Disneyland. He realized that when we just try to produce 1 million vehicle just produced by a very famous brand name Kia or Hyundai, but it not just contribute a large amount of the capital or accumulation of money, whether if we just compare with the successful experience of Disney. So we just try to carry out a cultural policy. And so that's the kick-off and the so-called inauguration of the cultural phenomenon of the K-pop. So about the external factor, actually we witnessed the rise of Hallyu, actually first originated in mainland China. So for mainland Chinese, they just try to approach the outside or the cultural products from other countries, but not just originated in mainland China. It just benefits from a very important historical background, was the media liberation, which just in Asia, especially in mainland China, just in the beginning of the 1990s. So it just welcomed by the Chinese people. They just benefit from the atmosphere, an open mind atmosphere, and a more modernized atmosphere in the freedom of press, and also the absorption of the foreign message. And so it just finally contributed to the rise up and the spread of Hallyu in China. And so that is a picture, we just taking a corner of Mingdong. So we always visit Mingdong. So for the gentlemen here, you should just wait for your wife and your beautiful lady. That means your girlfriend, because she's just busy for shopping, for the beauty, for the cosmetic goods, or all the accessory which related to make you beauty, right? And so just wait outside Mingdong. So just pay attention to the corner, to the picture of Mingdong. What's the most important image of Mingdong? It just reflects as a super metropolitan which contains of the various kinds of the popular culture. So you can just easily approach different language here. For example, Hallyu, and also traditional Chinese, and also Japanese, that means Nihongo. The Nihongo just divided into Hiragana and Katakana. You can always just well observe and just approach within Mingdong. So that is a very important foundation for Korea to contribute to a successful popular culture, because it just contains a flexibility which just contributed by an open-minded cultural policy, which just successful rooted in Seoul. And so the rise up of Hallyu actually just maybe reached its climax in this year, where we just witnessed one of the most important member in the Bandan Shongyongdan, that is but BTS. So anyone here just love such group, BTS? So one most important member in BTS is Chung. He just responsible to perform in the opening ceremony of the FIFA World Cup this year. So it just which is the climax. Hallyu just successfully attract all the eyeballs all over the world. Just when June could just participated in the ceremony, and it's a very important guest to perform the dance and also in an artistic performance. So Hallyu didn't just originated in the domain of Korean traditional Thai culture, but also just contemporary pop culture such as dance music, rhythm and blues, funk, hip hop songs, and Korean style idol groups. Although for some people, including me, just suspected that we cannot make a very clearly difference between the Korean pop idol and the Japanese pop idol, right? However, the Korean just successfully created a very unique performance style and just attract the audience attention. So it provides affirmation of the power of K-pop culture and growing further through free competition market, especially in some new rising markets such as Latin America as well as India. So that is some just a kept photo just from IG and also on internet. The most interesting point was that it is from India. So Hallyu was now just also as a very important cultural phenomenon which attract the audience in India. So that is a very important evidence to show that the widespread of Hallyu all over the world. So a brief historical development and characteristics of Hallyu, it should be just well divided, just according to the scholars' perspectives about the development of Hallyu will be divided into 4 important so-called versions. So version 1 is just all about K-drama and K-movie. So maybe you can just will it before, such as the Stairways to the Paradise. In Cantonese, 天國的雞批. And so some guys including me just try to edit his title as 天國的雞批, right? And also some main content of the story is really shocking for all the audience. For example, the actress was just committed in eyeball cancer, right? so that is a very interesting story, right? And also another important film just marked is the representative products. For the first stage of Hallyu should be 踢腳傑太極旗飄揚生死有情 as a very important movie just to well describe about the 2 brothers. One belonged to the campsite of North Korea and the little brother belonged to South Korea. And so they just met on the battlefield. So it is a very important story just trying to reflect the history of contemporary Korea. And so for Hallyu 2.0, we all just are very well known for the K-pop performance. And also Hallyu 3.0, we just now in this stage is successfully just urge and also drive the attention of all the Korean fans from the K-pop performance, just try to carry out some in-depth study of the traditional Korean history and also the Korean culture. So that is the ultimate goal of the rise of Hallyu. Maybe it showed that it's a very important successful experience for contemporary China. Yeah, so about 4.0, that is our future. For the Korean, they just realized that when we just, within this stage, all the global citizens, that means the human being all over the world, will just try to living under the guidelines of the Korean style living. So that is the ultimate goal. So there is some table to show that about some important characteristic of it within different versions. For example, in version 1.0, about what is love, Winter Sonata 冬季戀曲, Jewel in the Palace, that means 大將金大長今. and also hot, that is a bang and boa. And in version 2.0, we just witnessed the rise of the girls' generation. Maybe you still remember about the song. Da, 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 da. Nobody but you. Yeah, that is the great song from girls' generation, and also Big Bang. And so in the most important thing or the perspectives within this table, I realized that was the distribution pattern of Hallyu. For example, in Hallyu 1.1, it just depends on the overseas Korean society. That means some migrated Koreans. For example, they just lived in Honolulu, that means Hawaii, and also in LA, they just try to promote their mother country's pop culture. So they become the main force to promote the Korean K-pop culture. But in the Hallyu 2.0, we just depends on the power of YouTube. YouTube just broadcast Nobody, the great song Nobody from girls' generation. And now that we witness the rise of the so-called SNS, that was the simplified form of the so-called social network service. That means about IG, Facebook, that means became the most important media. So that is a very clear table. I realized that to show that about the brief development of the Korean wave. And other type of table also just deal with it, but we witness the difference between, for example, the duration of the different version or the different stage. It just depends on various kinds of the academic discipline and the perspectives, just well delivered by the scholars. So that is a timeline. Very important. That was the starting year was the 1992. We witnessed the creation of the officially diplomatic relations between PRC and South Korea. And it marked the end of the hostility between the PRC and the so-called capitalist Korea. And so it just marked the foundation that later on when President Kim Dae-jung, Kim Dae-jung 总统 just tried to kick off the cultural policy. And so the cultural product just successfully landed on the huge market of China. So it just later on kicked off the widespread of the phenomenon. And so we witnessed the rise of Psy. So nobody will forget his special dance and also Oppa Gangnam Style, right? Sexy lady. We all remember that as a very great song. And so it just reached about 1 billion YouTube views. Marked as a first climax of the Hallyu, and later on, when just marked the top 100 most influential people listed by Time magazine. So it just marked the end other climax. So later on, BTS, and 2 years later, Parasite, 上流寄生族, just recognized by Oscar as the best picture. So for many Koreans, that is the climax of Hallyu. The successful experience, just rather than the very great cultural achievement of the modern Korean or the contemporary Koreans. So that is another time chart to show that about some important K-drama, for example, Daejang-gun, My Love from the Star 來自星星的你, and also Descendants of the Sun, 太陽的後裔 became the most important one and just attract a large amount of the audience in mainland China. So influence and reflection on Hallyu. I just try to summarize in some important perspectives. First of all, the word new, which just means a great wave, moving from political, economic ideologies into civilization paradigms in post-Cold War period. So actually, Hallyu just represents a first image about a large-scale widespread of the cultural phenomenon after Cold War. So it just marked as a very important phenomenon, just attracted scholarly interest. And also, Korean wave is a main agent of East Asian popular culture, just in parallel, in bracket competition with Western-oriented popular culture. So nowadays, for many Asians, they just pay attention to Hallyu and just hope that Hallyu become a very representative popular culture, just present a unique and specific pattern for the Asian, but not just dominated from the Westerners. So it is another important message just raised up by many Korean scholars. And thirdly, the cultural context of Hallyu show Korean style development model. It is a very specific in Chinese translated 韓國獨有的發展模式, just well praised by many Chinese scholars when they just try to deal with the studies about Hallyu, which has not only achieved democracy but also maintained dynamics of the Korean civil society with some traditional values, which just not lasting and widespread within Asia for over 2,000 years. For example, including the ideas of loyalty and also filial piety, which just always are emphasized by the traditional Confucianism, will be a very important core idea, just well transmitted within the K-drama. And the contemporary Korean society is just recognized by some scholars as a modernized but also maintain a dynamic society, still respects the traditional East Asian values, 東亞傳統價值, which just based on the traditional Confucianism, will be just emphasized by many scholars. We can very easily approach and discover throughout all the K-drama or K-movie. So one very important example just deserved is a duel in parents. In Hangul is Chung 大長今, So it just first broadcast in Hong Kong about in 2005 and just kick off all the audience just in loving with the Korean K-drama. So actually I love Yi Ying Ai, Nei Ying Oi, very beautiful, a very beautiful lady and very good actress actually. And so the story was based on a real history. So as you know, I just have been studying and researching on Korean history for over 20 years. Actually, Jang Yung was a real person who just lived in mid-Joseon dynasty, about 15th century Korea. However, if you just try to discover the story of Jang Yung within the very famous history book, which titled is the Annals of the Joseon Dynasty, in Chinese 朝鮮王朝實錄, you can just discover about 100 words record about Jang Yung. However, the Koreans just use such 100 words to create a program which contains 50 episodes. So you can respect the creativity of all the Koreans. Just try to base it on a real history. However, it just produced a very successful historical drama. So for the whole story, just used it to transmit the so-called traditional Confucianist idea, and also well recognized by many scholars as missionary of traditional East Asian cultural values. So it just drives the attention of some contemporary Chinese people. So the impact of Korean wave, a measure of positive lifestyle for many Asian people nowadays. Although maybe not all Asians just support such idea. However, it shows a good way for the so-called contemporary and modernized style of living. The success of the Korean way is closely related to the ability of South Korean popular culture and media to translate Western or American culture to fit Asian taste. So in a historical perspective, it is a accommodation of the traditional Chinese or Asian and Western cultures. So it just shows that maybe it may appropriate way for our forcing our future, the culture of future. So and also the Hallyu just showed and reflected a sign of the cultural affinity, Chung, just between South Korea and the neighboring countries, especially in Japan and China, who just shared over 1,000 years with the so-called Asian civilization, which based on the impact of the traditional Chinese writing and character. So that is a very important evidence to show that the close relationship between the three countries. And another important argument was that was the rise up of Hallyu was just supported by the government. Of course, yes. The Korean government just tried to establish some important organization, which just titled in a cultural promotion all over the world, in order just try to rise back the impact of the Hallyu. So this global expansion was just contributed to enhance South Korea's national image. And so just, of course, contributed to the economical development, especially in tourism. So that is a chart very funny, just trying to make a statistics based on the interest of the tourists in Korea. Trying to just collect the idea, for example, did you really love the K-pop culture, including the drama or the music? And so what's your main purpose to traveling over Korea? What's your purpose? Just try to meet with Wayne, right? So that is a very important investigation, and just try to collect some data for their further consideration to decide about the future on the tourism, on the tourist development. And so some very interesting image to show that how did the Korean fandom, that means the Korean fans, just form of the rise up of the Hallyu. So there is a report about the so-called middle-aged Japanese women, but they just try to participate in the wedding party of Chung. So you know a Bae Jung?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So there was a very important actor who just kicked off the rise of Hallyu. And so Jung just has a very funny and very lovely nickname in Japan. In Nihongo is Yong-sama, Yong-yang. It's a very lovely nickname just called by the Japanese fan to Mr. Bay. And so they just try to participate in the wedding party. So it's a very loyalty friends. And also in China, we realize the rise of Hallyu just collaborated with the love come from the star, 來自星星的你. And so Kim Seo-yen became a very important and popular actor in mainland China, and also attracted the attention of the Chinese audience. And so it just became a very hot and popular drama, and just popular on the internet. And also there is a report in a very famous newspaper in the Philippines, which title is the Manila Bulletin. It just served as the most important and most influential English newspaper in the Philippines. However, in this newspaper, it just try to explore a corner to report about the 2021 Global Hallyu Survey reviews up. And so the most important actor and most popular actor actually is Lee Min-ho. Yeah. So it's the ranked the first position, Lee Min-ho champion. Of course, I love, no love, I like. Song Hye-kyo, my goddess. Song Wei-kyo, extremely beautiful, right? And so that is a chart to show that about representative actors, singers, band, or important idol groups which just represent the spread and achievement of the Hallyu. But that is a report in the Philippines. So we again just realize the power of Hallyu in whole Asia. So that is a Hallyu travel fiesta which just held in Singapore. So in some important Southeast Asian countries, which just under the great influence of traditional religions such as Islam, and also some traditional Confucian values, such as Singapore and Malaysia, they also just did not avoid the impact come from Korea. So that is a very funny story in contemporary Asia. So of course, when there is somebody love you, nice you, at the same time somebody just hates you or jealous you. And so that is I mentioned before the manga, which title is the Kan Kong New, in Chinese Yim Hong Lao, was just published in Japan. just try to, in order to well deliver and present the hostility towards the Korean cultures. So I just try to keep one most important, and for this page always just coded by the scholars. And in Nihongo, just well translated in English, it's not an exaggeration to say that Japan builds the South Korea of today. So if we just trace back to the colonial history of Korea, and for some Japanese, they strongly realized that the contemporary Korea was actually built on the foundation when Korea just ruled by Japan within 1910 and 1945. So although Japan just served as an imperial country and carrying some cruel rule to the Koreans, but we cannot deny that the Japanese also just try to establish some important infrastructure and foundation for the Korean during the colonial period. So that is the idea of the Japanese people. So that's why we witness the rise up of some important commerce which just try to deliver some jealousy message to the rise up of Hallyu. As well as in Vietnam, we witness some reports about the Vietnamese government has asked the leftist not to air the South Korean series Lead to Women because one of the episodes just delivered wrong message about the procedure of the Vietnam War. So that is another issue to show that we witness the tensions between the Asian countries if we just upon the rise up of Hallyu. In China, there's a very famous actor, Chung. He just always argued that resist the input of Korean culture in order to just preserve the cultural confidence of contemporary Chinese cultural products. So that is another story we realize about the reaction or the reflection coming from the Asian countries to the rise up and development of Hallyu. So concluding notes. The future of Hallyu, first of all, some Korean scholars insist on the necessity of expansion of Korean culture through interactive cultural exchange with East Asian audience in order to reduce the continuing and increasing hostility towards Hallyu, especially which just come from Japan and China. That is a very important strategy to just preserve the continuing development of the Hallyu. And also, Hallyu can be just a successful case for us to taking reference because its transformation strategy and also its rise up and the spreading procedure just based on the application of IT. For example, we mentioned it before about the power of the SNS. So this is another important experience just shared by Hallyu. We can take advantage and also take reference when we just try to kick off or imagine about our the cultural development of future China. If we just try to imagine that, will one day the Chinese popular culture, just like the Hallyu, become a very important cultural phenomenon all over the world. So last but not the least, we always done this way. Yes, that is the so-called finger heart. So it is a very important symbol or a signal just always presented by the oppa. And so it is very attractive for all the Hong Kong beautiful ladies, right? Yeah. Yeah. So I just told it by some new generation, that means my students. So for this signal nowadays is also old school. Yeah. So to times rise and also we just realize the trendy time. So we very easy to be a old school guy, right? So that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ban, for the insightful speech. Let's give him a round of applause. And we have now come to the Q&A section. And please raise your hands for the mic. You can ask your questions yourself. Anybody?
So, hello, Dr. Fred. My name is Elcom from Carolyn. So, the first question I would like to ask is, you see that this kind of Hallyu is kind of type of nationalism? Is it a kind of nationalism? Every province, every country want to promote that. And is there any other? The second question is there any other government or country also using that kind of technique to promote their culture to other countries? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your questions. Very good questions. So I just try to respond to the first question. Yes, actually, I realize that is a sign of nationalism. Because for most scholars who just deal with the studies about Hallyu, they cannot deny about the great achievement of the cultural products which just well delivered by the Korean pop culture. Actually just create the attention of the Koreans about the history and also the cultural aspects. And also, as you know, Korea was a country just suffering with a long time foreign invasions in the modern times. For example, just for the Japanese, and the Japanese also just occupied the whole Korea in 1910, and just the Korea escaped from the colonial rule from 1945. And so nowadays for Koreans, they really need a specific phenomenon or atmosphere to just represent their nationalism. So the successful experience of Hallyu actually just deserved as a very important evidence to show the achievement of all the Koreans. So I realize that you just suggest a very good opinion upon the issue. So about the second question, any other government, maybe another very good experience came from India. So you may just heard about the Bollywood. There is a very great achievement, cultural achievement which done by the Indian government. Just pay attention and great effort to promote the Indian movie all over the world, and also just collaborate with some modern presentation of singing and dance. However, for Bollywood, if you just try to make a deep observation of its most important film of the Bollywood, for example, the movie, which just based on the mythology of the ancient India. So I realize that that is another form to promote Indian history and Indian culture. So I hope I can just respond to your question. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I think the kind of like influence of Hallyu to me would be I get to know the Korean history, the Asian history more. Starting with 大長今, and then 統一, and then 明成皇后. All this historical drama, I get to kind of like I then Google, all the emperor, and then I get to know who's who in the history of Korea. That's the influence of Hallyu to me.
You suggest a very nice idea. Although it is the time we start the dinner. I would like to just share a little bit about my teaching experience. I have just been teaching for the course History of Korea in Baptist University for over about 5 years. And actually there was no this course before, and the course was just decided by me. And in the first 3 years, I just taught it in Cantonese. But now we just face the change of the policy, that is about the medium of instruction. So I just now going to teach the course in English. And so I just accepted some various kinds of opinion from the students. For some of them, some of them just realized that it is appropriate to teach in Cantonese or Chinese, because all the primary sources in Korean history before 20th century were well written and recorded in traditional Chinese character. So if in a consideration of the historical research, maybe it is much more appropriate to teach in Cantonese or Chinese and Mandarin. However, in attract the international student to just try to carry further study of Korean history, maybe we just appropriate to teach in English. So maybe we need a balance. And so, what's the most important response to your opinion was that they always have a foundation of Korean language. For example, before they just enter the lecture room, most of them just have been studying Korean language for about 1 to 2 years. They can read Hallyu, and also they just frequently and daily listen to the K-pop music, and also appreciation of the K-drama. So that is why I realized that there was a very important connection between the pop culture as well as the education and also the further studies and research. So that is.
Thank you. Any more questions? From the floor?
So,
Okay. Sorry.
in your opinion, could Hong Kong able to replicate the success of Hallyu life? Will Mirror reach number one? Billboard number one?
Very good idea from the president. Maybe, hopefully. But I will strongly realize that, for example, we just try to consider about the experience in Hallyu. When Hallyu just rise up as a very important cultural phenomenon all over the world, there was an increasing number of the people just trying to study Korean language. So I strongly realize that the rise up of the so-called Hong Kong culture will collaborate with the well-preservation of Cantonese. So if you can we'll just increasing our application in Cantonese, well preserved in Cantonese. For example, I just try to raise another research experience come from me. I also just have been studying and taking research on the Hong Kong comments. You can just easily discover that the content, especially the conversation among all the figures in the comment, within the comments, just become decreasing application of Cantonese. So actually we just try to trace and also transform and make changes on such situation. And when we just try to emphasize the importance of Cantonese, we will just try to take the chance to emphasize the importance of Hong Kong pop culture.
Thank you once again to Dr. Fan in finding time among the busy schedule to join us.